On April 15, 2009, in response to growing unemployment and growing resentment towards migrant workers in Ireland, the Taoiseach and Minister for Enterprise, Trade and Employment, Mary Coughlin, announces drastic changes to the work permit system. The most worrying of the changes will prohibit migrant workers holding work permits who lose their jobs from taking up another job unless it is publicly advertised for 2 months. Her decision was made after a so-called consultation with both employer and trade union bodies, who both opposed the moves. The Migrant Rights Centre Ireland issues a quick public criticism of the changes and soon after brings together the members of the Centre's migrant action groups and the Migrants Forum to discuss the changes and their impact. The decision is made to take action to stop these changes before June the 1st, the day they are due to come into effect. A letter is sent to the Taoiseach to request a meeting and urging her to reconsider the changes. The appeal falls on deaf ears. Soon the issue makes national television.
We needed them when times were good, but what happens now for the immigrants who made a new life in Ireland?
As the recession deepens, growing hostility to our immigrant workforce is becoming more evident. But when the economy was booming, Ireland Inc. couldn't recruit foreign workers fast enough. Last year, over 300,000 EU nationals were working here, more than half of them from the countries that joined the EU in 2004, like Poland, Latvia and Lithuania. But so great was the demand for labour since 2004 that another 43,000 non-EU nationals were signed up for jobs through our work permit system. Many are nurses and doctors, and many others from countries like China, Brazil, India, South Africa and the Ukraine have been doing dangerous, dirty and domestic jobs. Rajat, here 7 years from India, is one of thousands who were recruited into the booming hotel industry. He now manages a hotel and says he's earned the right to stay.
This is my home. I live here, my family is here, my wife is here. If I'm working, am I not paying the government tax, paying my PRSI? Am I not paying my levies? Okay, I'm not an Irish citizen, but I came in this country legally. The government wanted me here.
Filipino nurse Luz was actively recruited to come here 5 years ago on a work permit, along with thousands like her, to fill vital posts in our health service.
When I arrived in here, almost everybody was saying that we're so lucky to have you. Because I know the demand that time was really, really high for nurses. We planned of leaving here for good. So I think going home is not really an option anymore. Because we've invested all our lives, we've invested everything in here.
To cement that investment, Luz's husband Rudy left a professional job in the Philippines to join her with their children. He now works on a spouse's permit.
We were made to
Welcome.
feel at home and welcome by people here.
The perception that Irish workers are suffering disproportionately in the recession is widespread. But figures from the Central Statistics Office suggest the opposite, that non-Irish workers have been losing their jobs at over twice the rate of Irish employees.
There's a lot of resentment out there, a lot of abuse. Everything is blamed towards immigrants now, especially now with the recession biting. We are blamed for taking everything, the jobs and everything, so it's not easy really for immigrants in Ireland at the moment.
While resentment may be growing in some quarters, there has actually been a dramatic fall in immigrant numbers since the recession began. New PPS numbers for EU accession state workers are down 53% from their peak, while non-EU work permits are heading for a 60% drop and refugee numbers are 70% down. What's more, the ESRI says 30,000 migrants will leave Ireland this year. Yet, despite this massive fall-off, the government has chosen this very moment to get tough on work permits. From the 1st of June, it will be virtually impossible for anyone to get a new permit. But what has caused greatest anger is the targeting of those who are already here, people who were encouraged to believe that Ireland offered them a permanent new home. Under the new rules, migrant workers whose hours are cut back could see their permits end because they no longer have full-time jobs. Thousands more who may be made redundant in the months ahead will be prohibited from taking up a new job unless it has been publicly advertised for 8 weeks, a highly unlikely scenario these days.
How am I supposed to find a job if I'm made redundant? If I go to an employer and say to him, listen, would you advertise this for 8 weeks before even I can start working for you? He's going to come back and say, listen, I have 10 more people looking for the same job and qualified as you are, so I'd rather have them than wait 8 weeks for you.
Others are actually angry at the moment, knowing that there will be a change in June. I would imagine this is how all the migrant workers are feeling, considering that when we were needed, we were recruited to come and we served the country. It's as if they were not wanted anymore, that they're trying to drive us away.
We welcome immigrants to come to Ireland, and now that the jobs are gone.
It is significant that both the employers' organisation, IBEC, and the unions have voiced strong opposition to the new government policy on permits. SIPTU, the country's biggest union, warned the government specifically of the danger of people blaming migrant workers for the problems we face. And if that happens, critics say, the government itself will have fanned the flames of racism.
When they're talking about migrant workers, this is us. We have feelings. We have children. We have a life. We're not mere statistics. But we are human beings. We're not just something that you will use and then when you're done with it, you throw it away.
But is that how you feel the government is now treating you?
Precisely.
The fact is, these changes in the work permit system are going to make it virtually impossible for migrant workers who are here for a long time, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, to remain in this country. And all we're asking for, and along with the employers, along with SIPTU, ICTU, members of the faith community, even some of Fianna Fáil backbenchers, is to revise and revisit these proposed changes, because they're actually not needed.
Your new rules have actually effectively said that any person with a work permit who loses their job will not be employed.
They have every chance of being employed.
I'm sorry.
If it can be established that there is not somebody from within the Irish job market or the EU pool of the labour market who can fill that position. That's the normal rules. That is the proper way it should be.
A 2-month advertising of a vacancy is effectively telling an employer, A, you can't employ somebody who's going to require a work permit. What employer is going to wait 2 months? And also it's telling the migrant workers that, you know, there's no point in even applying. And we had a person in our office this week who's in this country for 9 years. His family are Irish as far as they're concerned. He's just been made redundant, and he's here 9 years. His home is here. Now, the rules that are about to come in are basically telling him, you know what, you leave the country. We don't want you. We had a meeting last night. Migrant workers talked about how they felt completely disposed of. I mean, this makes a mockery of all of the talk of integration and valuing migrant workers more than just as units of labour. I'm sorry, it's a lie.
On May the 20th, the day following prime time, a major press conference is held. Over 120 migrant workers, along with allies, including trade union and employer representatives, gather to highlight the issues. Workers speak out about how the changes will directly impact on their lives. Every TD is written to with an appeal to stop the changes. The issue is raised several times in the Dáil. Individuals are asked to send letters directly to the Taoiseach to make their concerns known. 1 week later, on May 27th, migrant workers and allies, including a large SIPTU delegation, gather in front of the offices of the Taoiseach to protest. Hundreds of phone calls are made to the Taoiseach's office that day. The Irish Times dedicates an editorial to the issue the next day. The Migrants Forum raises the issue with candidates campaigning in the local and European elections. June the 1st, the changes come into effect. Immediately, individuals affected by the changes present themselves to the MRCI and the numbers start to mount. Over the summer, the campaign continues to take action towards finding a solution. Workers and allies continue letter writing. Many begin to meet their local TDs face to face and urge them to speak with the Taoiseach. Pressure continues in the media, and several articles and letters to the editor are published. Pressure continues to mount on the Taoiseach. In late August, rumours begin to circulate that movement on the issue is imminent. August 28th, a major breakthrough is made. Minister for Justice Dermot Ahern and the Taoiseach announced changes that double the length of time, from 3 to 6 months, that migrant workers have to seek alternative employment when they're made redundant. In addition, migrant workers who have lived and worked in Ireland for 5 years under the work permit system will be granted a new permission to live and work without the need to apply for another work permit. Then, on October 12th, the government officially removes the labour market needs test for current and future work permit holders who have been made redundant. This victory is as a result of a hard-fought campaign by migrant workers and allies to change the unjust and cruel policies. Our voices have been heard.